Whether it's good or bad, you just got to keep going because we're just passing by.
Jorge Perez is a visionary agent who's worked with some of the biggest celebrities in the industry. With a wealth of experience connecting talent to opportunities on a global scale, Jorge equips artists with the strategies and resilience needed to thrive in a competitive industry. Today, Jorge joins us to share those invaluable insights, giving actors a rare glimpse into what it takes to stand out and succeed in an ever-evolving business. Let's dive into his story and discover what every actor needs to know how to thrive.
If you walk into a gossiping conversation, the only thing you add is, I hear you.
Jorge, welcome to the Re-Audition Show. How you doing?
Hi.
I'm great, man. I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
So we've got your book, Shut the F Up Method. And I was quite intrigued by it because when we met, which was at a Soho House Run Club, we were talking about the idea of mentality and how your mental awareness of things shapes what happens in your life. But that's not new to me. But what I was particularly intrigued about was you have a background as a talent agent. You've worked in the entertainment business, and your book really speaks to people in our business where having a positive outlook on things is challenging at times. And so I really want to see, for our audience of actors, what's the overarching bit of advice in your book that they can take away from?
Awesome, Darren. Here's what first comes to my mind. So there's actually a chapter in the book in which I'm having a really great conversation with a writer who just got signed by a big agency in LA, right? And the conversation was legit. We were talking, I was like, that's so great. And then all of a sudden that excitement started dimming because we started talking about, but unless you have a big actor in the film, it's hard to get it greenlit, because you need that marquee presence. And then we just kind of started going down that road, right? And then in that moment, I kind of paused it and I thought, you know, that's a conversation that if you had in LA with 10 people in the room, everyone could possibly agree, right? And at the same time, it's that narrative that we have that in the belief that we have that the only way things can get made is if we have a big talent and all that stuff. So having that core belief is what attracts us to be right in that scenario. And in that particular conversation, I go, listen, you never know. But like your neighbor could be a big film financier and you always bring in the bins. And because you're a nice guy, he's like, hey, so what do you do for a living? I'm an actor. What are you working on? Here's my project. And it happens. We need to monitor what we believe make things happen as actors or artists in our industry, because that core belief will taint and will create what we experience.
Are you talking in a scientific way, in the way that the brain works, or are you talking about how people respond to us in life if we're always complaining and we're always down in the dumps? People don't want to be around us.
In this particular case, I'm going more into the science of like quantum physics, right? So let's go back a little bit. So, the really great place that we are right now in culture is that it's almost like science and spirituality are kind of meeting for the first time, because as we have samples of like, there's electrons around an atom, right? But then when you look away, those electrons move. And that goes with the theory that what we observe and call out ends up being true. So if the observation is it's hard to get films made, and we declare it, and that becomes a mantra that we state around saying, it's hard out there, there's no auditions, it's hard, then we're almost like locking in particles. So then that's what our reticular activating system looks. Our brains are going to scan for us to be right. That's what we're constantly seeing. People are like, you know what, like things are hard, and it's like, oh my god, you're so right. Like we've normalized, and now going to what you were saying, we've normalized complaining as a way to create bonding and relatedness with people. And what we're not realizing is that we're paying a hefty price, which is the quality of our lives, because we are being right about the things that we don't want. So by the way, so I'm not saying to like be against your integrity, be like, oh my god, there's projects everywhere and like people are throwing money. but we need to be mindful on how we describe that things are going. You know what I'm saying? Like people could be like,
Mm.
"Hey, how's the industry going?" There's shifts going around, and but I'm excited to see what's coming next. Things are unfolding. So you're not lying. You're not saying I have all the job offers coming in the world, but you're also not cementing thoughts like it's hard out there, man. There's no jobs or there's no this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of my problems that I had during the strike period last year, because when all the actors and writers went on strike, I understand the reasons that the union did it, but the sentimentality, what I was seeing on the TV and what I observed my friends outside of the industry seeing was that we as actors are always struggling so hard. We don't make any money. And there was this narrative going out that we're making peanuts. And I know in some instances that is true. The residual checks were going down. But what I found really damaging was we as an actor community went from this aspirational career all around television to being these hard up people that barely rub 2 cents together and can't make our bills, when that isn't true of the working actor when you're working.
That's completely the opposite, isn't it, of what it used to be? And we talked a lot about this
Yes.
during that time. It used to be that if you're an actor, you're rich and famous. That was the only narrative that was out there back in the day.
It was
And this came as a
aspirational.
surprise. Very much so. It used to be.
Right. And you could say that's realistic, but in the same way, it was shaped in such a way which is not, the true story wasn't really being painted, which is if you are on set and you are working, you are paid pretty well, right? And that could be better and it could be worse and whatever, but it's certainly not as tragic as the narrative was making out. Now, why I'm saying that is a lot of people I know jumped on that bandwagon for a feeling of community and for a feeling of being part of something, for being part of a movement. I worry about the long-term effect of how that makes them feel about their careers and how that makes other people around them perceive them as going back to this starving artist mentality and what that does for our psyche and what that does for our careers.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I believe that the type of conversation that has, let's call it that fight or flight tonality, complaining, gossip, negative, right? It's a very survival based conversation, you know? And now this is where the science can be really, really explained and exposed because our brains are wired to survive. So we are in survival. That is like our default set mode, right? So there's a reason why CNN or Fox News, all the bad news are the ones people watch because in a very primal way, our brain is wired to think, well, if I know where there's bad news, I'm going to be safe and I'm going to survive. So imagine as a collective of actors or artists, there's a conversation about things are hard. It's going to draw you in because it's going to create like a sentiment of like, okay, so we're all agreeing that things are hard, so let's figure out how we can be safe, right? But what happens very innocently is the opposite, because by staying in that conversation of things are hard, you get stuck in it, but you can't get out of it. You know what I mean? Because things are hard and you're declaring them, and Joe says that they're hard, and the news are saying that they're hard. So we have to, little by little, like take a stand against those core beliefs that collectively people will agree, but it doesn't have to be our reality. Now, if you're the type of guy that everybody gets together to complain and you're going everything's great, you're not gonna vibe with those people that much longer. They're not gonna want to have you around. You're not gonna be around. So I actually in my book I have the shut the fuck up commandments, right? Shut the F up. Shut the F up. And the shut the F up commandment number 2 is if you walk into a gossiping conversation, just add the only thing you add is I hear you or I hear that. You see what I'm saying? Like you can find a rhythm where you're not adding to things that you don't want to believe, like things are hard, but you're not calling people out and not letting people talk. You know what I mean? Because I do get the value of people needing to express themselves and feel gotten, if that makes any
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, it
I hear
absolutely
you.
does. I hear you.
What are the other commandments that you've got? You talked about number 2 there. What are the other ones?
Yeah, yeah.
Just for our listeners.
Yeah, yeah. So the first one is, if you're gonna talk shit about, and, I try to be, I use like a little bit of crass here. Is I go, if you're gonna talk bad about anyone, don't use their name. Use my friend. How about we start using anonymity when we're talking about people? Because we're innocently all the time just like assassinating people's characters. So let's say me and Darren have a dynamic, right? And our dynamic is that Darren always forgets to bring out his credit card when we go out to eat. Darren loves doing that,
Not
right?
true, but yeah, go on.
I bring out
Of
Richard's
course,
credit cards usually.
of course, hypothetically.
Yeah.
So then Richard is our friend in common, right? So then I don't know what Richard's dynamic is with Darren. I'll talk about you guys on the third person. Maybe you don't have that dynamic where Darren forgets his credit card. But the minute I go, Richard, man, it's just like, God, Darren is so cheap, bro. Boom. I just infected you with that preconceived notion. Whether you had it or not, it's irrelevant. And now you're going to look for that in Darren. And then you're going to get back to me and be like, you know what, George? He is cheap. So now, here's what happened. I just killed two birds with one stone. I assassinated very innocently Darren's character, and I also ruined your experience. So how about we start taking and of course, this is something it's kind of innocent, right? Guy doesn't take out his credit card. But how about we start taking a beat before we go around saying things about people that that they're not gonna like if they know we're saying those things. And also, how about I become my brother's keeper for Richard and not assassinate your experience that you may not be having? So that's commandment
Mm.
number one. Does that make
That
sense?
sort of, yeah, that rings true of a confirmation bias, right? That we end up looking for things that we want to believe, that we perceive are true. And that goes back to, if our understanding of the industry is there's no auditions, it's hard, we will seek validation of that fact. So when we're reading the trades, we'll naturally go towards that article that says there's no auditions. And when we hear someone in the coffee shop, we'll resonate with them when they're complaining about no
Makes us feel
auditions.
better, I suppose, as actors. It might
Yeah.
make you feel better because then it's not your fault, is it? It's the external factors that are making that.
Yeah.
That makes
Mm.
sense.
And yet it's not your fault. And yet at the same time, if it's somebody else's fault, you also have no power and you're powerless against it.
Mm.
So that's the price that you pay. You feel that comfort. We're all effed together, but we're also powerless at the same time.
George, do you think it would work the other way around? Do you think if we met up in a bar and I said, Darren's awesome, his dress sense is so amazing, do you think that would be infectious as well? Is it exactly the same, or is one more infectious than the other?
No, I think it's exactly the same. It's just that we are, like I said, because of our fight or flight and the survival conversations that we gravitate to, we lean more on that negative talk. It's just wired to us. You know
Mm.
what I mean? It's like it's funny, guys, but we're all wired to, like, if I tell you, oh my God, Richard Darren the other day, bro, you'll never believe what he did. Blah 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 blah. It's a lot more leaning in than if I go, oh my God, Darren's just so amazing. You're kind of like, okay. But if
Yeah.
I go, you're
Okay. Yeah.
never gonna believe what this mother F did the other day. What did he do?
I suppose if we're in the wild, you go, where is the lion? Don't go in that cave because there's a lion in there.
Exactly. Listen,
And you're
there's a
like,
reason
holy, I've
why
got to remember that.
celebrity gossip is so huge. And listen, I don't blame the celebrity for the scandals or the gossip writer or even the consumer, as I'm a consumer a lot of times, but it draws you in because it's also a survival based conversation. You're like, well, God, if he cheated on her, like, well, watch out with that. Thank God no one's cheating on me like that. It draws us in. So,
Mm.
but yes, the other day I had a really good example, Richard. What you said, I was at a party and I met this girl who was gonna start working with my old boss, who's also an agent. And I met her at a party, and randomly she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna start working with Bobby." And I looked at her, and I have a great relationship with my old boss, but on purpose I said, he's the greatest boss you'll ever have. He's incredible. I mean, mind you, she has no idea, no reference, and I felt in that moment I was wiring her to I'm
Mm.
like, you don't understand how lucky you are. And Bobby's great. But the way that I was wiring her was just so then her reticular activating system was going to look for all the things right off the bat on how great he's going to be. So we do have the power to do that. And I'm so much more mindful now to do that to people because I want people to have great experiences.
Can you talk to me about your time as a Hollywood agent and any of the personalities that you saw that you think had something special in their mindset that helped them to success? Good question.
Yeah. I had the privilege of working with Jennifer Lopez a few times. I brought a really great deal to her to shoot this, to do this concert in the Middle East in Qatar. And the thing about Jennifer, she's just always on point, always on time. She's just like, the machine is big. Sometimes it's funny. I have my thoughts. I have my thoughts because sometimes I think when the celebrity is so famous, I guess, there's a lot of fear in the culture because like literally it's like what kind of water are we going to order? It's like I don't know. No one wants to make a decision because everyone's so scared they're going to get it wrong and then they're going to get sacked. So it's almost counterintuitive. You would think there would be such high quality service, but it's such there is a lot of paranoia because there's a lot of paranoia because the stakes are so high, right? Because that person's such a big deal. But at the same time, she's just, man, her star quality. You just feel it when she walks into a room. She's always on time. She looks at you. She's like, "Where do you want me? You want me there? All right, let's go. Let's do this." Like there isn't that much like joking around, and it's serious. And different celebrities obviously have different styles, but with her, she's one that I've always really looked up how professional she is and has that quality.
Do she have a certain mindset? I remember seeing the documentary that she recently produced.
Yeah.
And, she would have her highs and lows. Throughout that, I do remember thinking her mindset remained very specific and positive and on the job at hand. But at no point did she seem to say no or it can't be done. It was more like, how can it be done? When she's making that full length music video film that she did for Amazon.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting, Darren, that one of my commandments is that thou shalt remember that life is temporary. And when I wrote that commandment, it wasn't so much to, take a deep dive on being morbid or mortality, but I do think there's in regards to her, it's almost like she has a healthy relatedness to the fact that it's not that deep. You know what I mean? So it's like whether you get the job or you don't get the job, she just moves on. Like literally you see it
Mm,
everywhere. She just got divorced, that she's still doing all her red carpet, and she was in Riyadh on this concert. And I don't think it's particularly because you're insensitive or you're a robot. It's just like nothing sticks. You know what I mean? Like there's a level of like you just can't take this stuff too seriously.
mm,
Whether it's good or bad, you just got to keep going. And I think that in her example, she possesses that level of you know what, it's not that deep. Just keep going because we're just passing by. I don't know if that. Do you feel what I'm saying? Like I think we
absolutely.
we we tend to be. I came up with this phrase the other day. We're moment discriminators. We think like this moment is okay, but when I have three more zeros in my bank account and a huge Netflix show, then the moment's gonna be better. And that's the trap because nothing's guaranteed. This moment is it. So as an actor, as an artist, as anything, if I'm sitting here going like, oh my God, my life sucks, I don't like my life, this sucks, you're gonna get that show and your mind's gonna recalibrate and you'll be like, I hate my co-star, I hate my co-star, I hate these hours, I hate it's nothing's gonna come and save you. You have to save you with your mindset.
Mm.
I mean,
Do
listen,
you?
I do retreats, right? With people that have serious neurological diseases, that have MS, ALS, can't breathe. Like, and here we are, here's all of us, right? Such talented people, super healthy, like we can breathe, we can talk, we can move whenever we want. And for us to miss out and leave money on the table on our peace of mind because we don't have some job, it's just what a waste.
Mm. Do you have a meditation practice?
Yeah, I do. I talk about this in the book. I recommend, whether you're into meditation or not, go on YouTube, write 5-minute guided meditation. Meditation is key to normalize your nervous system. And what I talk about, I recommend it first thing in the morning, because when you wake up in the morning, your brain is in theta, which means that you're highly, highly suggestible. So if you really want to rewire how you metabolize getting a job, not getting a job, anxiety over a job, anxiety over the industry or anything, you want to take on a meditation practice. And I'm telling you, do this for 1 week, 5 minutes. Go on YouTube and write stress meditation, free stress meditation. You do this for 5 minutes. First thing when you wake up, you will be a different human being in a week. You will see how those things that used to stress you out are like, maybe they went from a 10 to like a 5 or a 4. And that's when it gets exciting. So yeah, and I personally do a 15-minute gratitude meditation every week, every day, which in that meditation, I really like, I start, everything. Emotion is energy in motion, and we need to, that's why when we're so scared of something, it happens because it's a lot of emotion. So I purposely try to summon energy of excitement. I think about my future. I see myself in that room. I see my book becoming a New York Times bestseller, whatever you're working on, that film, and really like marinate it in that emotion and being in that situation. But here's the caveat though, you're gonna like this. Manifestation, we've had manifestation wrong. Manifestation is the emotional independence of wanting reality to change to feel better. When we enter that state that we don't care whether it happens or not, it's manifested.
Mm. There's another phrase I love,
And
which
we,
is doing things with or without you energy, which I think actors could take advantage of, is that I'm doing this with or without you. If you want to be on this train with me, great, we're all going together. But and that's a bit like what you're saying with Jennifer Lopez, and what I'm hearing with manifestation here is you've got to be good that you're doing what you're doing, regardless of the outcome.
yes, yeah, absolutely. I think it's like it's kind of, it feels counterintuitive, right? Because you think that if you care so much and you're so obsessed with something that it's gonna go your way, but actually the less that you care is the more that you get your way. It's like you're pursuing somebody. If you're pursuing somebody like, hey, what are you doing tonight? You can't go, oh, what about tomorrow morning at 5? No, I'm okay. What about like that energy, that scarcity, thirsty energy repels things away. But when you're like, you know what, it's fine. We'll go out whenever. All of a sudden it's like, okay, but I'm around. Yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? It's like when we want something really bad, guys, then we're actually saying that we're not happy, that we're in scarcity. To want is to be in scarcity. To not want is to be in abundance. So you're in alignment with abundance energy, so it has to come to you because that's the energy you have. But when you're wanting something so bad, you're like swimming in scarcity, and it's not a vibrational match.
If you'd like to join the Wheel Edition community, go to wheeledition.com/show to get 25% off. Now, back to the show.
I was just thinking, I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of an actor that says, really wish I could be in an abundance mindset, but I just don't have any auditions right now. How do I get myself in that mindset if I've got
You
no
know
auditions
what?
on the table?
I have in my book, so I created the GAF, right? So it's like GAF stands for gratitude, affirmation, and visualization. So I grab my GAF journal. First thing I do in the morning, I grab the journal and I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful that I can breathe with no pain. I'm grateful that there's food in the refrigerator. 3 things that I want to affirm about myself. I'm generous, I am loving, I am compassionate. I can stand in those 3 things. And then 3 things that I want to visualize, whether it's that project, a vacation, a partner, whatever. And then after that, I go straight into my 5, 10-minute, 15-minute meditation. When you start looking for things to be grateful for, you're tricking. This is all brain training, guys. You start training your brain to scan for things to be grateful for, and then all of a sudden they're coming out of nowhere.
That is almost exactly the same as what we've never talked about this before. And that is almost the exact same thing that I've been doing for years with meditation. I've been talking about this for a long time, and I've got Darren doing that exact same thing when I, gratefulness and what I am, and then what I want or what I deserve. I found that very beneficial for my own mental health. And I have talked about journaling a lot. And it's a lot of the same things. It's about rewiring your mind. And what you say makes a lot of sense. It's rewiring your mind to recognize where you want to be in the good stuff, isn't it?
And Richard, you actually have created some content on our website on weaudition.com for actors to do the daily journaling practice and on the YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, there is actually. There's some downloads that you can do. You can just download it and print it out and then write on it, because I find that very beneficial using, ink on a bit of paper. But you can also do it digitally, and you can also do it in your mind. Quite often I've done these things, on a walk in the morning or on a run, and I just go through like a meditation. But I've narrowed it down now to those three things that I find the most beneficial for the least amount of time, which is gratitude and saying what I am. I say sometimes in the macro, I am an actor, and sometimes in the micro, I'm happy today, or I'm fit and healthy, sometimes very small things. And then what I deserve. And really that helped me to stop self-sabotaging. And I think a lot of people do that. If you're worried about things, or there's some, I don't deserve this, so I found that really beneficial. So yeah, I have got some download. If you remember, on the left-hand side on the bar, you can click on meditate on journals, and there's a whole set of different journals. There's a beginner's one, and there's a medium one, and there's an advanced one as well, which is sort of like a whole page of questions and answers that you can go through. I found it really beneficial, and a lot of people have. We had 12,000 people during lockdown join me for guided journaling, which we did when everyone was locked in the house. It was really really good for a lot of people.
And then we have the meditations on the site as well. So we've got a compendium of actor-led meditations that are specific for the actor brain. So it's really helpful, I think. I really loved George, the way you talked about reframing things. With us both being British, the British mentality is often to play things down, right? And I do notice this with actors in general, but specifically European actors, is you get a role in something and someone says, oh, congratulations, you got this role. And you go, it's only a small part, or I'm only in one episode, or yeah, it's just a couple of lines. And you sort of talk it away instead of being proud of it. Should we as actors be more deliberate and proud and not do that, not self degrade ourselves in that way?
Yeah, no, it's great point. So one of my chapters is called "Be Your Own Publicist," right? And it's because we are literally our worst publicists, right? Because we tell everybody about our issues. You have a pattern. You're getting stood up by, or you get those LA girls, man. They're nuts. They all want your like. We're literally. And then it's like, how's Darren? Oh, he's just always with his girl issues or whatever, right? I'm sorry, picking on you. This is all hypothetical.
I'm getting it all today.
I'm sure
It's not true.
I'm sure you get spiritual, incredible girls everywhere you go. So in I do have a part in that chapter where I say, listen, and by the way, this is not just isolated to the English culture. I think we're wired to have that response of like, oh no, I can't think of any culture that would just be like, yeah. So again, that's part of the rewiring that we need to keep in mind, and it's great to be able to see it, but now we have to put it in practice. So it's like next time somebody gives you a compliment, how about saying thank you? You know what I mean? How about just you feel that pang of discomfort? It's okay to feel it and just say thank you, and that's it. And then you're going to create an enjoyable experience for that person that gave you the compliment. It's like, how many times have someone told you you look great, and then you're like, "Oh, you too," and they're like literally in sweats, and you were in a tuxedo, and they're like, okay, like, it's like, no, you don't mean it. You're just like, oh no, you look great too. It's like, just say thank you. And I think again that's part of it. It's beautiful that those opportunities come up, because little by little, when we say thank you, when we don't gossip, when we say I hear you, every time we're doing all these little things, we're rewiring, we're creating new pathways in our brain. So then that starts becoming our subconscious. The subconscious mind runs 95% of what we do, and the conscious runs 5%, meaning the subconscious mind, the habits, the genetically wired culture beliefs, they're running the show. So we're like on an escalator going down, and we gotta go up. The force is driving you down. Again, in my experience, once you start really taking on these principles, it becomes a lot easier. I talk about how I get more pleasure now, not from getting what I want, but from seeing who I am when I don't get what I want. And that's where I'm like, wow, I didn't kill this telemarketer. I'm okay with this line, this traffic, and that's the gift, guys. Because at the core, this book was inspired by both my parents passed away from cancer pretty back to back, and it led me to a path of studying epigenetics, which is how we metabolize stress and how stress triggers whether it's neurological diseases or genetic predisposition diseases. So this book is an invitation to rewire how we talk, because if we don't, we are going to lower our immune system. And I started thinking of how much we abuse ourselves. When we get so triggered, whether it's traffic or we didn't get that job as an actor and our friend got it, we feel that crazy jealousy or that frustration. We're almost like abusing ourselves. Does that make any sense?
Mm.
And that we need to lower that kind of abuse.
Well, they say the body keeps the score, right? So if you're always in that mode of either fight or flight or
Fight or
anger
flight,
or
yeah.
stress, what you're doing to your body is you're causing these reactions that we know aren't good for us. We know that stress amplifies disease. And
Yes.
I think a lot of specifically actors will put themselves in those environments of stress because they sometimes think that's what it takes. Oh, I need to be working this hard. I need to be putting everything on the line. And we often talk about the idea of try and be as comfortable as you can for this career. It's
Yeah.
not, I think there's this long narrative of the stress is good, or like, I want to be a starving artist. Unless I'm giving up everything for this, I'm not putting my whole self into it. But actually, the actors that I see that are successful, they're the ones that are creating nurturing relationships. They are at ease in life and comfortable. They've got a source of income, which means they're not always in panic mode. Do you
Oh
think
yeah.
that helps?
Yeah, of course. When you're an artist and you're not depending on your art as, let's say, the only source of income, it's a different vibe. You know what I mean? So that for sure, it's like my sister is a concert pianist, and we've talked about it. It's like when you get to a place where like you're doing something for the passion of it, and yeah, it could be one of your streams of income, but when you're not like, oh my God, I need this paycheck to pay the bills, then you have so much more freedom. I had a download right now about, I get it, man. Listen, the actor's journey, because it is so about you are your product, you are that, you get on stage and you kind of crave, and even me as a speaker when I do stuff, right? I just did a talk on Sunday, and I was watching this podcast and I heard something that, and this really works for actors too, because it talked about when you get on stage, right, or present anything, and you're so nervous because you want to look good, then it's all about you. But how about you then shift that perspective and be like, no, I'm here to create value for you, to make you have a good time, to hear something that'll change your life. So by default, the actor's mind is, I get it. It's very like, how did I do? How did I do? How did I do? But we need, as an actor, needs to really put on, do those reps in the gym of how, okay, so how is this not about you? How is this about you creating a beautiful experience? Whoever's going to watch that is going to look at you and be like, I can be an actor too. Oh my God, that storyline made me think about my mom and my relationship with her, and it's going to create healing for me, or whatever it is. It's like, stop making it about you. Like the example that this guy had in the podcast. If I'm getting in front of an audience, right, and I'm giving like $10,000 each, if I'm giving $10,000 to each person, I'm not gonna be nervous at all, right? I'm like, hey, I'm like Oprah giving out cars, right? So how about having that mentality of like, when you get in there, when like you're actually giving a service for people and you're doing this for them, instead of like, oh my God, I hope I don't mess up, and do I look okay, and how's my hair, and how, you know what I mean? There's a time for that, and there's experts on that, but really I think that the goal, that what we want is to make it about others, and that's gonna, not only is it gonna show in the work, it's gonna show in our way of being, and it's gonna create a whole different experience.
Mm.
If someone's got a role and they're turning up on set. Are there things in your book, in this approach, that would work for you if you're on set as part of your preparation, as part of your work on set?
You know what? I think the part of my book that would really apply to that is that, you know, going through all the commandments, right? Like life is temporary, trust the unfolding of life. If you have a problem, tell one person, and you know, remind yourself that millions of people would kill to be in your shoes. I think the overall arc of all those commandments immediately just creates a different kind of human being, including an actor. I think my heart goes out to actors in the sense that I think that the machine is very set up to think that you're isolated and you need to, it's you against the world. And listen to the narrative, like, and actually this umbrellas all artists, right? That term, starving artist, starving art. I'm a starving artist. I'm a starving art. Like, like the artist is almost like starting at less than zero by this the society norms and its own personal cultural beliefs. So we need to like really go against all that mindset. There's a lot of mindset work that an actor definitely, in addition to get into the role, needs to do into really owning the quality and the quality of a person that he or she wants to be. So I know I went a little bit on a tangent, but I think overall the book with the 10 Commandments and everything that I talk about could create that prototype of an actor that just has a lot more fun, doesn't take things so seriously, feels more confident in the room, and really like when they hear you didn't get the job, you're like, great. A no is just, I have a chapter called A No is Just a Yes or something else to do.
It's a
Yeah.
not right now. In many senses, it's not necessarily a no. It might be
Yeah,
yes next time.
Well, and
exactly.
also a no for something opens you up to something else because we all only have 24 hours. So if you're not doing this one thing, it's what are you replacing that with? And it might be different or better. I think we've all had moments in our life where we could look back and go, wow, if this didn't happen,
Oh,
or
all
if,
the time.
or if
All the
this
time.
had happened, then this wouldn't happen.
We talked about that. Me and Darren talked about that only yesterday. I think the day before we were talking about, some personal things that happened in our lives, and actually there was a lot of positive came out of it.
Yeah, and just wildly different things. One of the chapters that I really liked in terms of what you were saying, Richard, is being on set is a good mantra was the truth and kindness chapter. You ask about just that notion of thinking, is it true? Is it kind before you speak? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, yeah, that one is it was a beautiful quote by my friend Kelly Sprague that before she walks into any conversation, she thinks, is it true? Is it kind? And is it beneficial for the other person? So again, these are things that guys, like the word is so like the environments that we're creating by the things that we say and the conversations that we engage in, again, I get it. You have a group of friends and everybody's complaining. You don't have to be, I call it the shut the F up police, right? Like, why are you saying that you're manifesting more of it? But you don't want to be that guy. No one wants to be around that guy. But you're gonna have to really be the I hear you guy and the wow and the ooh, I gotta go guy. I'm sorry. If you really want to shift your mindset and shift your consciousness and what you attract, you're gonna have to really monitor how you talk. But the beauty about this work is that 1 week of doing what I'm telling you to do, you notice in 1 week, 2 weeks by in 1 month, that crack is fully installed in the wall. And the whole thing about a crack in the wall is that it's only gonna get bigger. And sometimes it gets
Mm,
bigger really fast, and sometimes it gets bigger really small, but it's still going to get bigger. So as you take on these principles, it'll start infecting you, and you're gonna have fun. And listen, it's not like I actually enjoy. I have a friend of mine that man that mother f person, like he just loves to gossip and complain, and once in a while I purposely go visit him because for me it's like I'm going into war zone. I'm like, all right, let me get my reps in, let me get my reps in.
Project.
And I become like a conversation ninja. He's like, God damn it, this stupid city, everyone is, and then I'm like, dude, I love your shoes. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I got them the other day. And like, yeah, and like, what the fuck? And did you see what Tim did the other day? And I'm like, dude, I'm starving. What do you want to go? Let's go get pizza. Like I'm just, I have the best time just freaking seeing how people are like robots. Just change the subject and they will stop complaining. That's it.
right.
You said something on your Instagram that use compassion instead of anger. Can you talk to me about that? Because that seems similar sort of positive approach.
Oh, yeah, man. Listen, my last commandment is before you tell anybody to shut the F up, you shut the F up. And that is the ultimate. That is what wraps up the system. Because if I'm the guy that's professing that Richard is perfect and whole the way he is, and so is Darren, then how could I tell you at the same time to shut the F up, right? So listen, at the end of the day, however you are built, it's exactly how you should be. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what genetics you came wired with. I don't know anything really. So I got to really stand in the fact that you're perfect the way you are. So to me, when I meet, I actually love, I get excited when I meet somebody that I don't like because I start thinking like, I'm going to be so wrong about you. Then I start contemplating on like, you know what? This person doesn't have my toolbox. They're not wired like I am. And in fact, if I'm triggered by what you're saying, you're giving me a gift. You know why? Because you're allowing me to see my audacity, my arrogance, and just my crazy to think that you could be different. It's insane. So that trigger, I mean, those people, I mean, I love friends, but friends are just a bunch of cute little idiots that agree with everything you want to say, right? It's easy. It's like popping bonbons. It's fun. But an enemy, that friend that triggers you, oh man, that's the guy that's giving you the good so you can evolve.
That's really interesting. I love
Yeah.
what you were saying about
Interesting.
the positive affirmations for other people, though, and the being kind. Something that I'm really proud of what we've built with the We Audition community is when I see the reviews come through of the readers that the actors are working with, I see words over and over again like kind, like patient, supportive, all these words. And I just think that makes me really proud seeing those reviews come through because the effect on an actor in a hard business to have that support network when traditionally if you're working with somebody that's maybe a little too close to home like your parents or your roommates, somebody that is close to us often doesn't have that filter and they can get agitated, they can get frustrated, they can say things to you that they may not mean but in the moment. But the impact of having support and kindness in our work is just paramount, I think. There's no question there. I just wanted to acknowledge the listeners out there that are also readers on our site and say thank you to them, really.
Yeah, I'm going to reiterate that as well, because actually in a good audition or in a bad audition, sometimes you're often very vulnerable, and that's not really a great place to be having with, your flatmate or your mum or whatever. It might be, but you're doing your best work, and if you can do it with someone on We Audition who can be kind, you can grow together, and actually that's a human connection. And actually, as Darren said, one of the biggest things that I'm proud of too is that human connection and that community, because you guys are amazing on We Audition. It wasn't the plan, but it is definitely one of the biggest best things about the community.
That's
George,
so
what do you
fantastic.
want your legacy to be?
Listen, I love making an impact. Losing my parents for me. I think my dad was 67, my mom was 70. For me, I feel like what I went through was the catalyst for me to leave and maybe soften the landing for my friends that are going to go through that at some point, right? Because I think that I went 10 years before the majority of my friends are going to start having their parents having health issues. So my legacy, I just want to leave something behind that makes people have a more peaceful life. And I think that I'm really doing it with this book. That's my dream, to just have an impact where people can go to bed easier at night and feel a little happier about their lives, or a lot happier actually. Actually, I want people to freaking feel alive and joyful and know how amazing their life is, because it is. Because no matter who you are, if you are an actor in Los Angeles that left your home and left your small town or left your country and you're here, millions of people would kill to be in your shoes. And you should own that. And every time you're not owning that, you're leaving money on the table, and you're not in energetic alignment for those things that you want to come. You cannot go from scarcity to become a billionaire. It doesn't work that way. And if it does remotely work that way, it's to teach you another lesson. And then all of a sudden you're in that playing field, and then something else is going to happen that's going to make you feel that lack again. Because as you guys know, of working actors that are still miserable.
Mm,
So it
yeah.
wasn't that. So yeah, that's my legacy answer in the Miss Universe pageant.
Thank you so much. So if you guys want to pick up the book, it's called The Shut the F Up Method, and it's available at Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. Yeah.
Is it in bookstores as well, or
Yeah.
just
It's
only?
on Barnes and Noble through Ingram, Spark. So yeah, it's starting on Barnes and Noble, but Amazon it's been my biggest retailer for sure.
Congratulations on the success of the book, and it's so great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Dan. You
Amazing.
guys are awesome. I love this talk. Thank you so much.
You also, George.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. Bye. Thanks for listening to the We Audition Show. Your hosts were Darren Darnborough and me, Richard Cambridge, from We Audition, the leading professional actors community where you can connect, learn, elevate your career, and always get a self-tape reader on demand. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're a We Audition member, or even if you're not, we would love it if you could please subscribe to this podcast, as it really helps us. And if you have friends who might get value from this episode, please share the link with them. You can find us at weaudition.com or for your iPhone or iPad by searching We Audition on the App Store. See you next time.